First, I'd like to thank everybody for coming today. My name is Sergeant Mike Sobek. I am currently the acting lieutenant in the Criminal Investigations Division here at San Leandro Police Department. We're holding this conference, this press conference today, to pass on some critical information and to update the community with the information we have gathered. We will take a few questions at the end. However, please understand, due to the fact that this is an ongoing investigation, we may be limited to what we can answer. So please understand that. To recap, November 25th, 2011, at about 1:50 hours, an attempt robbery homicide occurred in the parking lot of the Walmart department store at 15555 Hesperian Blvd. 3 suspects got out of a car while the driver stayed in the car and approached the victims. They demanded jewelry. One of the victims was wearing a gold or some type of necklace. The victims refused to surrender the property, and a fist fight ensued. During the course of the struggle, the suspect, we now identified as Detwone Watson, a 29-year-old African-American male from Oakland, California. He pulled out a handgun and we believe shot the victim, who we can now identify as Christopher Murillo, a 21-year-old Hispanic male from San Leandro, California. As you will see in the surveillance video that we're going to show you, Mr. Murillo fell to the ground after being shot. The suspect, Watson, ran into the vehicle, the suspect vehicle, and fled the scene. The other suspect we identified and arrested was Tony Phillips, 20, from Oakland, California. Mr. Phillips was fighting with the other victims, and he was detained by those victims and held until the police department showed up. He was eventually arrested by the San Leandro Police Department. He is being arraigned today on attempted homicide and attempted robbery charges at the Hayward Superior Court building in Hayward. I'd now like to introduce the lead detective on the case, Detective Sergeant Ted Henderson, and he will go over the surveillance video and hopefully answer some of the questions that you have for us.
Once again, my name is Sergeant Ted Henderson. I'm the lead investigator on this case. We developed substantial information that led us to Mr. Watson. A warrant has been issued for his arrest for attempted murder, 2 counts of attempted robbery, and 1 count of robbery. And I will show you the surveillance footage.
Can we need the lights off here?
Right here, you'll see the suspect vehicle is coming into play right here. It's parking. It's described as a late 1990s, early 2000 model Burgundy Buick Riviera. Hard to make out the images, but you're going to see in seconds here a couple suspects get out of the car and go to where the victims are standing, which is right here in this corner. You kind of see the door opening from the reflection. Front seat passenger is Detwone Watson. He's the one that's armed with a firearm. The second suspect who gets out is Phillips, who was subsequently detained. They're all at the car now. You can start seeing the fight starting to happen right about now. And this is Christopher and the suspect right here fighting. And you can see that he drops and falls right here. You don't see the gunshot. And then the suspect is fleeing in the suspect vehicle as it's leaving. This is Tony Phillips on the ground here with the victims holding him down and fighting him. The person that comes up is actually the third suspect who got out of the car. He tried to rescue Phillips. He actually started fighting with the third victim, and then he subsequently runs off, and he leaves the scene on foot. And that's it. If we want to stop it. Sergeant Torres. So I provided you all with copies of the same surveillance you just saw now. Any questions?
Sergeant Henderson, could you describe again, Mr. Watson was in the passenger seat and you had a third suspect who was the driver who eventually got out as well. And could you describe the sequence of how many people were in that suspect vehicle and what role each of them played at what time?
So there were 4 suspects in the car. The driver did not get out of the car at all during this. Watson was the front seat passenger. Tony Phillips, who was taken into custody, was the passenger on the rear seat, passenger side. And then this third suspect, who we don't know, was sitting behind the driver. Yes.
How did you identify Mr. Watson,
Just
if he hasn't been apprehended?
he has not been apprehended yet, and it was just, I guess, some good old-fashioned police work that did it. Some good leads that took us to him, including our interviews with Phillips, that led to his identity.
Mr. Phillips is still in custody?
Yes, ma'am.
I think at the time there was some question whether they were trying to steal Christmas presents that these people had bought. Is that in fact what the jewelry was, or was it jewelry that they were wearing?
So the 3 victims went to Walmart to look for a video game. The video game was out of stock, so they didn't buy anything. They were standing at the car. They were going to smoke a cigarette before they left. Why the suspects chose these victims, it appears random at this time. There was some money taken during this robbery, and then some jewelry. But there was nothing purchased from Walmart by the victims.
How much money was taken?
$5.
And Mr. Watson, what is the warrant issued for attempted murder, attempted robbery, and robbery?
Attempted murder, 2 counts of attempted robbery, and then 1 count of robbery.
Do you happen to know what was said, during the course of the robbery by the victims and the suspect?
There's different, perceptions are different from each of the victims, what was said. It amounted to pretty much hand over your property, I'm going to kill you.
How instrumental was it that the victims fought back and was able to hold one of the suspects and provide you with some additional evidence?
As previously stated by Sergeant Sobek and some of the other news reports, it's not recommended that you fight anyone in these types of robberies, but it was definitely instrumental in this case. It worked out to our advantage, but that's something that I would not recommend.
I know you said that it looks random. Are you looking at the possibility that it could be gang-related at all? Are any of the suspects or the victims known gang members?
We don't have anything to lead us to that, that they're have any type of association with any type of gang.
I think you were able to give us an update on the victim as well, Chris. How's he doing?
He is out of the hospital, and he is recovering at home.
So was only one of the robbery and victims shot?
Yes.
The other 2 were not physically harmed?
Little
Or-
cuts and scratches from the fight, but that's it.
And of the assailants, only one of them was injured and then captured?
Cuts and scratches on him as well, just because of the fight, nothing major. But yes, and he was captured, and that was Phillips.
Would you spell the name of the victim?
His last name is Murillo, first name of Christopher with a C.
And his age was, James?
20, young 20s, 21?
21.
21 from San Lorenzo?
San Leandro, yes sir.
Were we identifying the other 2 victims?
Javier, same last name, and Rafael, same last name, Murillo.
Are they brothers or
Cousins.
cousins?
We have their ages.
They're all in their early 20s, and I do not know their exact ages.
Can you tell us anything more about Mr. Watson's background, whether he has been in trouble with the law before?
He has some extensive criminal history. It goes back. The exact charges I'm not going to divulge, but he has some extensive criminal history.
We want to make sure that the community knows we are considering him armed and dangerous. The gun hasn't been recovered yet. If somebody does see him, please notify your local authorities, 911. But he is considered armed and dangerous. We do not want anyone to approach him a phone call works perfectly for us.
If the victims handed over some money and some jewelry, why was the shot fired? Do we have any realize?
That's a question that we're gonna have to ask Watson when he's subsequently apprehended. I do not know the answer to that.
So they, in other words, they did not, they actually complied, they gave up stuff.
As far as we can tell, Christopher complied, Raphael, well, when the suspect attempted to snatch the necklace from Raphael's neck, that's when the fight ensued.
The suspect being Phillips.
Being Phillips, yes,
Is Raphael spelled with an F or a PH?
with an F.
Who are we looking at on the screen right here?
So this is Detwone Watson. The picture that
Welcome.
we have posted on him is his booking photo from 2010. This is his most recent picture from a couple weeks ago, on the 9th of November.
Do any of the suspects have any criminal record?
Any of the suspects? The two suspects we have in custody do. I don't know about the two outstanding ones.
Are Raphael and Javier brothers?
They're all cousins,
So three different
Three
cousins
cousins,
from three
yes.
different families.
yes.
Well, I guess I missed it. Was anything actually, the jewelry, was it actually stolen, or was it,
The jewelry was not stolen.
the jewelry wasn't stolen? Was it attempt, and what was the jewelry, was it a watch, or what
It was
was
a necklace,
A
a gold necklace,
that Christopher was wearing?
that Raphael was wearing.
And that was the only thing that they were, seemed to be after at that point?
That was what Phillips was after. So, kind of the timeline of what happened was Detwone Watson contacted Christopher Murillo at the car. At the same time, Phillips approached Raphael. So you can say there's probably two robberies going on at the same time.
And what was Detwone after? Jewelry as well?
It's personal property. And but to that extent, I don't know what his motives were. He did end up getting $5 from Christopher. Outside of that, I don't know what else he was looking for.
So Christopher didn't resist?
Not at first, no.
Maybe, can you maybe tell us the sequence from, you know, what Christopher did from the moment he encountered Detwone?
So the best that we know is that Watson contacted Christopher near the driver's side door, brandished a gun. Christopher gave him the $5. At the same time, Phillips approached Raphael, tried to snatch the necklace from around his neck, and the fight ensued between Raphael and Phillips. Now, why the fight started between Christopher and Watson, we don't know yet.
Was
Two
Watson
fights.
in the car or out of the car?
Two fights.
Was Watson in or out of the car when he pointed the gun?
He was out of the car.
And where was the third suspect?
The third suspect was in the suspect vehicle and got out once the fight started.
He was in the driver's side.
Driver side, rear passenger.
And then, so they're out of the car, and then how does the gun happen to go off? What happens, you know, what's the sequence there?
As you saw in the video, the fight kind of goes out into I guess you would call it an intersection. And the sequence of events that played out that led up to the gunshot, I don't know. You clearly see Christopher fall to the asphalt in the video, and I don't know what led up to that, other than there was a fight between Christopher and Watson.
And where in his body was he shot?
In his neck,
In his neck.
yes,
And he was released today or yesterday?
released today.
And you did say two suspects in custody.
One suspect is in custody, and we have an arrest warrant for Watson.
And you did not know who the third suspect is, or you've not named it?
Or the
We do
fourth.
not know who he is right now.
Third and
Third and fourth, and the driver.
The vehicle is a Burgundy Buick Riviera, late 2000, early 2000s, late 90s.
Yes, two-door.
I know we got a video of that, but is that gonna be on the website, or we could pull it off the website at all, or, I don't know if there's possibility. Oh,
It's
there
gonna
it
be on our
is.
Facebook page.
Oh.
Is it on YouTube?
I didn't know you
It's
guys
gonna be on our
got this.
Facebook page.
All right, cool.
Can either of you address the amount of security that was outside? I think at the bottom half of the screen, we see a security guard come into the picture after a little bit and then obviously run out with, trying to call for backup and help. But can you address the amount of security that was there for a Black Friday event at those hours in the morning and whether any of that is being discussed with the store or any?
Yeah, I don't know exactly how many security officers they had on scene at the time. I know that there was once the suspect, the third suspect ran away from the scene, it was believed he actually ran into the store. They were able to close the store for a brief time, so I want to say that they had adequate security to accomplish that. Closing the store for a few minutes to make sure the suspect was not inside. But the exact numbers of security officers, I don't know.
Detwone is how old?
29?
All right, well, thank you very much.